These vintage Tart tins are so shiny and beautiful, but they also make great Christmas ornaments or just great Christmas decorations. Now I have these several different shapes, kind of odd and random, in my stash of craft supplies, and I've actually made something out of them before. This adorable little snowman Christmas ornament, or like I said, you can just sit this somewhere in your house. In order to get this craft started, I first had to bang a hole in the side of each of these by taking a long nail and just a regular hammer and hammering a hole into it and then filing it down so it wouldn't be sharp and pokey. I then needed to fill it with some craft foam. Now because these are kind of unique shapes, I used it kind of like a cookie cutter and just pushed it down into green floral foam, and it made an imprint of what I needed. I always use a serrated knife to cut my foam, and it's going to end up being, kind of smaller than what you'd think. So after cutting off all the edges, I then angled it to make it fit down into the Tart tin and made it thin enough so that it wasn't sticking out of the top. And I don't show this in the video, but I always use hot glue to glue everything down inside the tin. After getting all the foam glued inside each tin, I decided what I was going to put in each shape. I have this cute little vintage person sitting on the ground, a gingerbread man, a little wood truck, and then this adorable blue ornament. I wanted to start off with the largest one with this cute little vintage ornament because this one might end up being my favorite. And originally, you can see by the bottom of it, it was once glued to something else. Who knows what it was on, but I wanted to give it new life. All of these vintage ornaments that I have in my collection were given to me by a friend, so I wanted to use up as many as I could. I also thought it would be cute that this little person was maybe sitting in the front yard playing in the snow. So I had these little picket fences. I glued some sticks to it to make it fit down into the foam, and then I put a tall bottle brush tree in the back. Now, even though these tins are actually quite small, you can really put a lot in them and they look pretty substantial. I had these cute little sparkly pom-pom balls that I put in front of it like he was building a snowman. Now, every single Tart tin that I do today, I wanted to put a little pipe cleaner through the top of it to make it look like a Christmas ornament, or also just to hang some really extra cute details to it. All I had to do was poke this pipe cleaner through the holes that I already had hammered into the side and twisted them around so that you can actually pick it up and hang it. Now I have this thin gauged silver wire that I wanted to add something to the pipe cleaner. So I have a cute little sparkly star that I put up right above this little guy's head. Now this is something fairly new to me. I usually don't use pipe cleaners for my crafts, and I usually don't hang anything from the hanger, but I think it was just an added adorable little touch. Now these shatterproof ornaments I'm going to use just as large sparkly balls on the ground beside him to bring in some red and green elements. I just take the hanger off of these ornaments and they just look like little yard decorations. Now you might be wondering, what about all that green foam that's still visible? Are you going to cover that up? And yes, but what I found is it's easier for me to cover up the green foam on tiny things later. So I glue everything in first, and then I just kind of cram the snow in where I need it to go. And it's a lot easier to shove everything into the foam without the snow. So that is actually the last thing that I do. So no, don't worry, all the green foam is going to get covered up. Now I'm just adding a little bit of greenery, and that little red berry in the front is actually a little red berry. I just plucked it off the stem and stuck it in front of the little guy's leg. Now sometimes what I have to do is trim up any extra little greenery that I don't want on the end of the stem in order to stab it down into the foam. So that's what I was doing with that little pine needle piece. I always also decorate the back fully because you never know if someone's sitting at a table, they might see the back side of this, and you want it to be pretty just as much as the front. This right here is my buffalo snow, and I just spread it out nice and thin and work it with it in tiny chunks so it's not too thick and fluffy, and I hot glue it into place, being careful not to burn myself, so I use the ends of scissors or pliers just to poke it in. It does stick out a little bit, so I go around and give it like a little haircut around the edges, and I just do this around the entire piece, and here is the first finished cute little Tart tin. I absolutely think it's adorable. I love vintage things, so not only the Tart tin is vintage, but the little guy sitting in the snow, I really think it's super sweet. For the second Tart tin, I'm doing the tiniest of all of these, and I picked out this really pretty indented blue ornament. It looks vintage, but actually it is a brand new shatterproof ornament, just in a vintage style. I glued it on its side to kind of make it look like it's tipping over, and I added a little silver pipe cleaner to this one too. I just happened to have two silver looking vintage ornaments as well that were so perfect. I hung those at kind of an angle above the big one, and I really played off of the white and silver look because I don't really have anything blue in my stash of Christmas stuff. I thought maybe at one point I did, but I don't really have any blueberries and things like that, so that's why I leaned heavily on the white and silver kind of frosting look of this ornament. So I did some white pine needles in the background, some silver little leaves, some berries, and some larger leaves kind of sticking out of the front. Now, even though this is a tiny tin, it is okay to kind of push things out over the sides. And this is actually the finished one. This one was probably the fastest to make just because it's so small. And again, I put that snow all the way around the outside, and I really think this one turned out so pretty and really elegant looking. And make sure to tell me in the comments down below which Tart tin ends up being your favorite. For the third little tin, I did this kind of heart-shaped looking tin, and I used this adorable little gingerbread man that I just got this year from Hobby Lobby. It came in a package of little boys and girls, and I decided to just do the traditional little gingerbread boy for this. So I glued a little pick to his back and glued his little feet down so he's nice and secure, and I decided to also work on this one as well. I did a little woody station wagon. I think I called it a truck earlier, but it's a little woody station wagon, and again, hot glued some little sticks to it to make sure it would be secure down into the foam. This one was just the perfect shape for that diamond piece. Now for the little gingerbread boy, I did more of a woodland looking scene with more green instead of all the sparkly silver and gold. So I did some greenery in the background with a ball brush tree, and I played off the white icing and white trim of his hat and the red part of his hat and his buttons. So I did red and white berries. Just filling it in with different sizes of greenery and berries. This one also turned out really, really sweet and precious. I wanted to add some more white to it. It was looking a little bit dark, so I added some white greenery in the front as well. For this one, I decided to do a red pipe cleaner. I had done silver for the other two and hung a cute little candy cane above his head. And this one, I was a little bit unsure what to do in the front because there was kind of a big open space. So I just ended up adding a couple little berries and a tiny sprig of greenery. I think it turned out looking pretty cute. Hopefully it doesn't look like two red eyes kind of staring at you. I was a little unsure. But this is the finished one, really fast and simple again. These are just so fun to make. It's a great way to also use up tiny things in your stash, and if you love vintage things, I mean, this is the perfect craft. For the fourth and final Tart tin, I did the little woody station wagon, and this one was probably also one of the easiest ones because I kept it pretty simple. Now sometimes working with tiny little things, I kind of poke the holes in first, add some hot glue to it, and then poke the piece on top of it just so I know for sure where I want it to go. I kind of test it out before I actually glue it in, and it's stuck permanently. So you see those little holes in the back, they're kind of my pre-planned areas I put things. I kept this one kind of like the little station wagon. It just came from the Christmas tree farm. It has its Christmas tree up on top, so a lot of red and white greenery in the background with just your traditional little pine needles. So really, really pretty but simple. Sometimes less is more, and also when you don't have a lot of space to work with, you just keep it kind of simple. I added these pretty berries that I actually got from Walmart last year, and I also went with a different colored pipe cleaner. I went with green for this one to tie in with the green color of the tree. I did the same little star like I did in front of my first one, and then the very last thing was just adding a little bit of snow, and I kept it at that. Sweet and simple. I actually saw some of these same Tart tins at an antique mall, and I hadn't made these yet. I might have to go back and see if they're still there because I think these turned out so precious. Just as a quick recap, here is also the little gingerbread man. Again, tell me in the comments down below which one is your favorite. The vintage blue ornament, I mean, this one is also really precious. I think this one might be my second favorite one. And then, of course, the adorable little vintage little guy sitting in the snow building a snowman. I just think they were so fun and cute to make. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.